I figured, obviously I'm the oldest person in the class by far. They want to make sure I had enough motivation to stay around.
I was gonna say, that seems like a quick turnaround. Couple of months.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. You having breakfast or a snack?
Breakfast.
Right. Zoom is on. Everybody's in frame, which is great.
Oh, shit, hi.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Good morning. Okay, good morning, TGIF.
And it's 10 a.m. Megan, you said your business picked up recently. Now you feel like you're crawling out of.
Trying to get used to living life, being busy again.
Yeah, you had like a month and a half or whatever of kind of nothing.
Yeah, I did. Like nothing. I didn't even think I really had anything in my pipeline. But now like my pipeline is good and I have like people now. Like it came out of nowhere. Like Dominick and I have actually been doing things.
Yeah.
And yesterday, Sam and I were golfing because we're on the golf league on Thursday nights. And I was like, oh, you need to remind me that I gotta keep doing the things that I was doing.
Yeah, right. That way you don't see the roller coaster effect.
Yeah.
And sometimes people do it on purpose, just to get a little bit of a break. But I mean, also that goes the opposite, because when you want to take a vacation, then your phone rings.
Yeah. Right.
So there is all of that. How's everybody feeling? I mean, well, your business is picking up. It's coming up towards the end. That's the second half of July. July is a tricky month usually. A lot of times we see it slow down. You know, people are getting their last minute vacations in and things like that. Following a lot of the days on market talk. I mean, sounds like activity on listings is slowing up a little bit.
Been here before. Especially in this kind of election year.
Yeah.
I think about October, November is things mentally people will be in another place. Mentally right now there's sucking a lot of the focus. Politics, interest rates, and besides the normal stuff that people do, and it's just a great time to call people and talk to them.
Yeah.
They'll talk to you.
I agree.
Any listings I've been tracking for like conferences or just to keep a pulse on areas, they've been cash offers. And I'm talking like 500,000 plus homes. Like
Dang.
high value homes, last four that I've tracked,
Yeah.
cash offers.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, like trying to figure out like what is, where things are still getting a lot of activity and where they're not. Because like I live at Lee Road and there's a house on the market in West Ridge. At my house, I'm gonna go see it. So I brought my whole family through it. And it was like dated, it had the first floor primary, but it wasn't awful, but it was dated. It was like $499.9. I was like, oh, I don't know about this one. They had multiple offers. I know another agent who put an offer in on it for her clients, and she said they did a $25,000 gap coverage, and they weren't even, so that, assuming it went up at least that much. She didn't tell me.
Right.
But assuming, oh, they didn't even get they didn't even get a counter, like they got something better than that, multiple offers. And that was really bizarre to me because it wasn't an Pinterest move-in ready house.
Right.
It was dated.
So Hope and My Sub sounds similar. Like they just went pending just a few days ago. Like they didn't even list over the weekend. They listed from Tuesday to Thursday, no open house, 490, doesn't look like it. Sounds like your house by the one you described. So I reached out to the agent to see if she can tell me where they ended up with their offer, how many showings they had. But, I mean,
2 days on the
now
market.
our area is approaching like 500,000 and, you know, like the values have just continued to go up to reach towards that.
Yeah,
And the homes are nice to maintain, but yeah, nothing real special or exciting. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah,
I can't find a pattern, I guess.
Yeah, well, when supply and demand are so out of balance,
That's what I was doing. Yeah, I was trying to read that part.
the
Yeah.
savvy buyer-
I've got mine.
savvy buyer will,
That's the idea of it, I haven't. Marta will, be revising it.
excuse me, the
Yeah.
savvy buyer, that is, been looking out there, there's 200, you know, between 100 and 800,000, there's, I think, 279 houses available. And when you look at,
mhm,
the number of people making a move and the high equity buyer coming in, that maybe sold their house someplace else. I've had the same experience on my listings. It is strange, it's weird, and I still think pricing it, you know, in somewhere in where the feeding frenzy is gonna start, because the market will take care of it. You know, you get multiple offers, it's just been the season for that.
Mine,
So,
even on the buy side too, like I just had, you know, we did the appraisal last week for the home, my clients on in Highland Township. And the Milford area, and it was originally listed at 290, we won the bid at 313.5, we had a $3,000 appraisal gap. And I could have sworn up and down, we looked at it, I'm thinking, I'm gonna see an appraisal like 305. Cause there's, I mean, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, like 1,200 square foot ranch, unfinished basement, 2-car detached garage, and you can't even fully get to, because there's a 4-foot by 12-foot gap of grass in front of the garage where the driveway ends. So it's like, I had these things, and we went FHA, and I'm like, oh, okay, nope, appraisal came in 313.5.
in Highland,
Yeah, we didn't have to use the appraisal, that appraisal came right in at purchase price. And I'm like, no repairs, no nothing, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's really great, that's my buyer.
Yeah, I think you were close enough.
Who?
For it
Brett?
not drop.
Same thing, right?
Over
A little bit
list
smaller.
on that. Alright.
I mean, I was looked at the months worth of inventory, and I still haven't seen anything above 2.5 months of inventory in the market.
no, I don't think that
Maybe
we've,
5 or 6, the market balance out,
I don't think we're gonna see that for a
so,
long, long time.
yeah, I mean, or, you know, it's slow, right? Like, it's gone up, because that's the number one thing I look for, but it's slow.
so the other thing that's going on is just the building in, multiple, you know, multiple, rentals. And you don't buy them, you lease them. And there's several, you know, pretty good sized projects. This morning I took a picture of breakfast, over on 59, right there next to Town Commons. There was a blank field, and they're pouring concrete over there. Bruno just added to his development on 59, there's another half dozen units that went up, and those are leases. So when people come in and they say, okay, I can't find anything, we gotta be somewhere, we gotta be here. So they're filling those up just as fast as they can build them.
Are they rent to own, or just
No.
simply rent?
They're just rent.
Okay.
They're like, you know, big money comes in and puts that up, like it could be a investment.
Real estate investment trust.
Yeah. And I sold a house, I had listed, and that's what the guy did. He says, we put together, you know, those investment trusts and multiples all over the country.
Yeah, there's those, and there's also those called syndications. Um, We'll see. I don't know how much, I
I've
mean,
never seen that here. I mean, this is a new thing for at least Livingston County.
Yeah.
We had built on, small builders and that kind of thing. It's very, very difficult for them to survive in this market. Doing
Right.
custom homes that they're not making a big margin on them. They won't do it.
right. I've been watching a lot of the RNC and listening to them talk a lot about, I don't know if you heard, was it JD Vance talking about the real estate market and the reason for our low inventory and cutting the red tape so that builders can build and that townships can, offer incentives for people to build and housing incentives for first-time buyers and things like that. We'll see if any of that comes to fruition. But they are aware of it and they're talking about it at that level right now. It'll be interesting to see. How about you, Scott? How's your pipeline looking?
Okay. No, I guess I'm just nervous because I just closed a bunch. So we don't have anything under contract. We had a listing go live yesterday, actually, 2 listings go live yesterday. So the house in South Lyon and then land up in Fenton. I have a very active buyer that I think I was hoping to put under contract this week. I think it'll be next week. We're going to see more tomorrow. Still waiting on 2 listing appointments and they're going to buy. It's a mom and her mom, a parent and a client, and then the mom's mom, and they're going to move in together. So that'll be 3 when it goes, but they've been slow to get us to the appointment stage. So, I mean, there's stuff that's in the works. It's just, I need to be reloading right now. I don't feel like I'm putting people in, and it's making me very nervous.
Right now.
Well, you do a good job getting business from your listings. So putting up a couple of new listings, what is your plan, with these ones? I know that one's a vacant lot, so it's not like you can.
Yeah, that one's sort of
do a lot with that.
We're high, and he thought we had lake access, and we only have beach access, so it changes it.
It's not docking access?
No,
Oh,
and I didn't know that until I was putting the sign in front of the land, and the neighbor told me. And then that trustee for the HOA called me and clarified it later, and he was unaware of it. And I hadn't, it's my fault. I should have known ahead of time, but there's 2 different HOAs in this neighborhood. So it was confusing because from what I saw in one, it made it sound like you did. And then I didn't realize there was a separate entity to where they overlapped. So that one I'm not.
Sam North Shore.
It's Runyon Lake.
Oh,
So that one I'm not very optimistic about. And then the house that we just listed in South Lyon, it does have deeded access. Well, not deeded access. The neighborhood owns a lot on the lake on Silver Lake that all of the neighbors share together. So I think we have potential to get quite a bit of traffic through there. It's just it's a funky house. And, but we're doing 3 open houses to try to add 1 piece of business.
yeah, for sure. At least.
Did your kids to work during this open house?
No, not this time.
Did you catch last time?
It was.
So what's the reason for the 2 HOAs in Fenton?
That's just how that neighborhood is set up. So
Is there like an older development and then a newer development?
no, it's if riparian rights have an HOA. So anyone on the water, this land is actually touching the water. So since they do have the beach access, they're part of that HOA. And that was the one I was looking at, but then the neighborhood that's off of the water also has an HOA.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. I didn't
yeah.
know that existed.
Not me either. So I was putting up a sign.
Yeah.
I was like,
The lakes that we have.
Yeah. yeah, and I mean, it was just annoying because what sign says lake access and it should say beach access. So I gotta take a piece of vinyl and put it over it because I just made banners for signs, because they're one-offs.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
that was annoying.
What lake is it?
Runyon. So south side of Fenton, Tyrone Township, just east of 23.
Okay.
that area sure has changed.
Yeah, I mean, even that, like in there, because it used to be all little cottages, right? You know, tucked in there, like one neighbor I was talking to, his grandfather, and he's in his 70s, I think he told me. His grandfather had been on the water in 1925. They had bought it, you know, when they were living in Detroit, and that was their cottage that they went to on the weekends. And he owned like 12 lots throughout there, and he was sort of giving me a little history lesson. It's like, why didn't I see him a couple weeks before when I was out there?
Wow.
And when I got out of college, we rented one of those cottages, and it had terrible water. It was a trip.
I
Yeah.
had a 2-inch well pump.
Well, now they have municipal water and sewer there that you can connect into if you aren't connected. So that's the nice part.
Well, that was a long time ago that we were there, but it was very rustic.
Yeah.
You could open the closet in the bedroom and see the dirt down.
Wow. Marissa, how's your pipeline looking? Your business?
It's all right. Trying to figure out that one that I was talking to you guys about yesterday. So I'm gonna get them call this morning for
Why
my
don't you
listing.
tell everybody about that one?
All right. Okay, well, my house in Fielding Drive, so Arbor Hills is, I originally wanted to list it at 650 and my client was on board with that. Bill had a listing in there that was 689, 690, 680. And then Sam did one that was 730.
Mhm.
So I talked to Sam, I talked to Bill, and then I ended up going 675. Well, my client's currently under contract on another house and it's contingent on the sale of this house. So after me doing like 3 weeks worth of research on it, I put it at 675 and I should have just went with what I had done with 650. So we just lowered it because they do have somebody else who's interested that is currently pending, but their offer is also contingent.
Mhm.
We're through inspection. The appraisal was yesterday for her,
Purchase.
her purchase. So I have an open house this weekend. It's only been on the market. Technically, today will be a week and we already did one price drop, but we need it to sell for at least like 650, 645 for her to have enough at closing.
Mm.
So it's at 664 and we've only had 2 showings and that was the first day it went live. And then, I mean, we did have some okay traffic through the open houses, but it was like all the feedback was like smaller square footage and small square footage. And then this house in the neighborhood's like 2,200 square feet. And then there's houses that are like up to $1 million in there. So it's like the basement's not finished, but it's plumbed. So it has opportunity to get more equity and adding on like a deck and stuff. But yeah, I want to lower it to 650.
So I think when we talked about it yesterday, we were at the golf outing together. And making sure that everybody in here is aware, like, and Bill, you can jump in on this also. What I told Marissa was typically if you have a listing in this market that gets 10 showings and no offers, it's 3 to 6% overpriced. If you do a price reduction on something that is small, right, $9,000, $10,000, but she was in the 675 range, she went to 664. She's still seeing the same buyers are still seeing it. If buyers are mostly searching in $25,000 price increments, she did a price reduction, but it's still reaching the same audience, right? The proper price reduction would have been to go down to 650 to reach the bigger pool of buyers and hopefully get $10,000 or $12,000 over asking price because of the amount of activity that you get through.
Yeah.
So I told this story before, but I had a condo in Howell. We had a 364.9. And we were getting showings, but it was, and I said, we're talking to the after about 10 days, we were talking to the wrong people. So he was okay with bringing it down to 350. So we did that, and within 2 days, we had 5 offers and a couple at asking at 350, one at 360, and the what took it was the cash offer at 375.
And it went over what you.
Yeah,
I remember you saying that.
It's a crazy attitude adjustment. And, you know, the seller feels like, well, I'm taking a big risk here. Well, the game is different.
Yeah.
It really is. And if it's a really, you know, good property, and people, like, I want it.
And the problem is that a lot of agents out there, you see these houses that are sitting on the market for 30 and 45 days. They hold on to their price, or they do slight price reductions, still hitting the same buyer pool for all of these days. And then they reduce down to the price that it should have been, which could be $10,000 off. But now they're 45 days on the market. They're not getting multiple offers over asking price. Like, you have to make the adjustment quick. But you have to be able to explain that to your seller also. Using stories like that will help, right?
There's also a weird stigma amongst buyers agents, I feel, that are afraid to write an offer under asking
They
price.
won't negotiate.
Well, that's because they've never been taught, or they've never had to negotiate.
And
Right.
it's like, what do you, like, if that's the right house and you see, and you think it's overpriced, then get in there quick and write that offer.
Like 70% of the agents that are in the business right now have never had to go in and really learn how to negotiate.
We had, Sam and I did an open house at my aunt's house that was listed downtown, 515. And they did a price drop after that to like 475, I think. And then they ended up doing another one. But she kept saying, and she didn't list with me, she listed with somebody else, because, you know, family drama. But she kept saying, why is nobody offering? Why am I not even getting lowball offers? Like, just give me any offer and I might be able to work with it, because she was so ready to get it done. And like, I knew that because of the conversation. We ended up getting a buyer in there for 415, so like 100 under what it was listed at, and they had just dropped it to 450.
Well, they had dropped it, but then they put it back up. It was really.
Yeah, but then it went down again, right
Yeah.
before. It got dropped to 450, and then the same day went back up to 475, and it was at 450, and we put the offer in at 400, and then they countered back 415 pass fail inspection. So, like, I don't know. I always try, and I just,
Yeah.
if it's sooner than I would like to try to negotiate down, I would just say like, hey, I'm sorry.
I must write this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I always will try, and
I think the time that you have that discussion is really when you're at the listing table, and you just trust your gut enough to, you have a pretty good idea where this fits, and as you get more experience. So then they say, well, you know, I want to try for this. Okay, well, this is what, you know, my gut's telling me on all that we're looking at. It's here. I'll go here. But if it's not gone in 7 days, we don't have an offer in 7 days, we need to get it back here. And then telling the story that I shared with you, it's always effective. It's more effective for somebody else telling my story than me telling my story.
Yeah.
Just heard us, you know, of an agent did this, what happened. And so they need to be massaged a little bit to take a flyer on it.
And going in and saying, listen, I can't guarantee that we're going to get the same results, but your best chance, if you've been on the market for 7 or 10 days or 10 showings and no offers, your best chance of getting close to this price is by being at the lower price.
but also like calling people who come through. Like, I feel like not everybody will call the people that have been through and say, okay, at this price, it was a no for your client, but is there a price at which it would make sense for your client?
Sure.
Just to try
Yeah.
to get that information, because maybe you'll find something that'll work for the both of you.
Like understanding buyer behavior And to your point, like explaining that. Have
So-
you done the reverse prospecting? Has that helped at all?
Yeah, I sent
Engage
over
in
100
interest.
emails for reverse
But
prospecting.
it hasn't even been that long.
I know.
You're just on a time constraint.
Yeah, but I also contacted both the agents and I reached out to everybody who came through the open house, and I mean, the general feedback was it was too small for them. I mean,
Square feet, isn't it?
2240,
Is the basement finished? It's not, is it?
no, but it's plumbed.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm like trying to be like, well, like you can add equity into this house, like, you know, by finishing the basement, adding on
Well,
the deck.
and the other houses that have gone in that neighborhood have
Are
gone for a lot higher. So
I
you're
know,
buying in and you're already going into equity in the home.
right,
I feel like that square footage is still a
That's-
nice amount.
it's a good
I just
size
feel like
house.
1900 or 2000, you feel that?
You're
I feel
like
2000 is
300
still
bucks a square
spacious.
foot though, right?
it's 296 now, yeah.
Right, so I mean,
It's
that's.
over 300, it was over 300, but it's
That's
at
high,
275.
like that's sticker shock to me, you know?
Well, and they have 2 new builds listed right now, one for 685 and one for 670, I don't know, around there, where they're up higher, and they're smaller, they're 3 bed, 3 bath, and 18 and 1900 square feet.
Well, it's nice because they're smaller, they're more expensive,
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
still need all the other things.
Right, they still need to like finish it and,
There's nothing like being, one person told me one time, yeah, it's brand new and my cooties are the first to go in there.
Yeah.
yeah, some people are like very germophobic.
Well,
They have a few clients.
but it's the feel, that newness or that, type of thing. And I think also I had shown, houses in that sub down there, yeah. And, so my buyer drove through there and she says, I don't like this stuff. So we had scheduled something to see, and she was in the $1 million area. We were looking at that type of thing. And, finally, sold her a new construction over right township. That was $1.1 million with waterfront. So
Yeah.
that worked.
How do you feel about, like, I've heard you say, you can add this to do equity. I always try to stay away from that because you don't get to sell potential because you didn't do it.
Yeah,
So, you know what I mean? Like, that's great and they can see that opportunity, but it shouldn't be reflected at all in your price that you're selling that potential because you didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I just had that conversation with a person who's thinking about listing her home, and she was like, I know that I can get it for higher, there's unfinished work, but it's got so much potential, and I literally said to her, we're not gonna be able to sell potential, we're just going to sell what you have. And but I said that to her like right out front.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
One of the things that 72 Soul taught me, when I was doing that, is the value of being there, especially in the first few showings, to get instant feedback. And ask them the question, how does this house stack up to the other houses that you're seeing? And then texting that to your client right away. This is what they said. This is what they said. I was there. And when you're there to open the door and just tell you a little bit about the seller, and they of course want to hear that. It's kind of like inside dope. And then maybe it's showing them a feature that really blew you away, about this house. It's really good. And then send them off and then place yourself near the door and ask them, well, how does this house stack up? What you see. And it's right there that you're gonna get it. I want to.
Out of the horse's mouth too,
We
not
wanna
just
put it
some
off
generic
right
shit
on
out of
this
an
house.
agent's
We're gonna
mouth.
go do that right now. Great news. And so then they'll ask, are they firm on their price? If I were you, I would get them, I would take it off the market offer. Make me take it off the market. And that was That worked several times.
It did. That was it was
Still one of my favorite ways of doing listings.
it's a great
To this day, it's still one of my
system.
favorite ways.
Having
It's
your
so
business.
unusual that you're there, you think, well, the other agent's gonna like it. If you have a little story for them, let me tell you, can I tell you a little bit about, the seller?
And what they love about this house.
The buyers love it, the agents hate it.
I found that
I only had one or two agents that were like, why are you
Agents
here?
love it.
To be there.
Like,
For the most part, mine did too.
Because I'm doing your job for you.
Oh, yeah.
When you bring a buyer in there, I am going to do your job for you, because I'm going to tell them everything about this house. So like, you're going to walk out so much more comfortable than any other house that you're going to walk in today, because I'm doing your job for
And
you.
we're giving 3% just paperwork together.
Yes.
No other
exactly.
research.
Like, it's amazing when you do that, like, but you have to have the right house and it has to be priced correct.
And you have to have, kind of an open schedule, because now you're, getting to that house. That's why I don't like the list more than 20-25 minutes from my location. So that I'm not eating up the whole day, but it's a really valuable use of your time, I would say. Golden minutes.
They can then stack the showings.
Yeah, I only do certain
15-minute
windows.
intervals, and everybody's on top of each other.
I only
They
do
see the other
certain
person.
windows in showing time, like I'll create a 2-hour block in the afternoon, a 2-hour block in the evening, so that I know if people want to get in that day, I can do it. And then if your time, I always put, if the time's not available, if it's for your client, just give me a call. Because I'm not gonna not get people through, but I'm really trying to steer them into the windows that work. for
Well, and
my
that was the
schedule.
other thing we started to sold too, is like, even at the listing appointment, if you have a seller that's just hell bent on this dollar figure, your comps aren't backing the play, or like somebody to show you, I use it in mine, is going off the reports from showing time. Here's this price point, here's your area, here's where we're seeing all these showings at. If you're here, but all the showings are here, we're not getting it. And that's when you go, okay, cool, I'll do it here, but if we don't get enough showings, we don't get any offers, right here, right now, we're gonna agree to drop it to here in a week. And
Yeah.
therefore, you've already had the conversation, so you're just ready to rock and roll, send the paperwork over, sign, seal, and deliver.
Some people sign that right up front.
Zach was always a big fan of doing that on the front end.
You
He'd have
sign your
3 or
price,
4 signed up front.
your price correction sheet,
give
dated
you a call, let you know
10
what's gonna
days
happen.
from now. But
So that's really, nobody really does that out there, and it's so different. Really is an unusual thing, and sometimes that's the thing that will sell a house more than the photos, more than anything else, is the excitement. And so oftentimes, I think buyer agents, that's, pretty much what they do. It's kind of like, oh, we're gonna see 6 houses, and, go on down, and houses do sell houses, and people do get in the way, of that, but kind of programming out in your own mind what you want to do and being bold enough to do it.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
before the end of this, I want to jump on a recent conversation that NAR's been having about this settlement. How many of you guys are familiar with, from back when you were going through pre-licensing, the term called steering? That word is coming up a lot right now. NAR is questioning whether or not they're putting us all in a really bad position,
They are.
100% are.
Without a
There's
doubt.
not
Yeah.
even any question about it.
right? That's a huge conversation happening right now, and it's something that we need to be very aware of getting ahead of. And this is going to go back to, like, in your buyer consultation, saying, talking to your buyers about how you get compensated. But if the house is not offering commission, can you not show it to them or not send it to them? If they say, no, I'm not willing to pay that, don't show me houses, like, they can steer themselves, but they have to put it in writing. Does that make sense? Right?
So is that what we would put on the
This is-
buyer agency?
We're going to
that
have to.
The buyer has agreed that they only want to be shown homes
Yes,
that are paying X.
yes. Because if not, these lawsuits will start popping up left
And I
and
think
right.
that's fair. I mean, if that's what they agreed to and that's what you come to and they're good with it, yeah, lock and load.
If it's
that's
not in
perfectly fine.
writing, it isn't.
No, but I think that's why, I mean, I'm all fine putting it, if that's where they wanna go, we go, look.
My worry is not really, and we always say this, my worry is not for the people that show up to this, right? Or the people that show up to the team meeting and people that show up to the Zoom or whatever. This is so darn important for people to have this conversation up front. Because, I mean, you could have the wrong conversation all day long, even today. This is everything that you do is going to have to be in writing to save and cover your asses.
Do we have like maybe a video that we could share? So when you sit down for a buyer's consultation, I need you to watch this ahead of time. We're gonna talk about it, and that way it's done by Erin or whoever, since she's the broker. This is what we're going to share with you. I need to know that you watched this. We're gonna have you sign a piece of paper that say that you watched this, and then we're gonna take another step and we're gonna go through the paperwork face to face. Yeah, that, you know, here's how it is, here's what we're gonna, you know, just because like, here's
Yeah.
what we're doing to make sure we're all buttoned up and this is super
So
clean.
in a big team operation or, where there's multiple agents, and you have a process where, we're gonna have a consultation, and you have somebody who's highly trained in doing that consultation, it doesn't happen to be a licensed agent. Do they have to be a licensed agent to explain that? So let's say you're a team that has 10 people. And this is a requirement in order to show a house, they must come in or have this.
Could be Zoom or sit down.
Zoom, and then this person, who's an associate of some kind, perhaps does that because it bottlenecks, agents' flexibility. If they're expected to do that every time, they're gonna get sloppy.
Well, what if they just do it once? What if it's just one mandatory training? I mean, I've worked for much larger organizations and we've managed to make change management a lot smoother than this. You make it mandatory, to your point. You watch the video, you sign it, you say that you've done it, and that, you're taking full responsibility of any mishandlings of the.
Oh, you're saying,
conversation going
see,
forward.
I was talking about putting it on the buyer, you're saying put it on the agent.
Oh, I thought you were talking about,
I'm
I
saying,
like both, I like agent and buyer.
because he's talking about like from the word, there's not a lot of people here, you look around and it's a Friday, and I get it, like, to your point, you don't want to, agents are agents because they like freedom, they like running their own
Mhm.
business. But if you want to be a part of this brokerage, these are some of the things that are mandatory, so that you're covered from that end. But to your point about like the training and almost like a checklist, or if there was written, I call them ARPs, but acknowledge or responses to objections that we could share outward. Those things are more valuable than watching a Zoom call where people are like, and this is what's happening. Okay, great. Like, how can we all be on the same page so that we're representing a full brand and we know exactly what we're saying, and we can all support each other so that in the event we are giving a client to a different agent, we know that they're gonna be taken care of because they're following the same process and they're listening to the same thing and they're saying the same thing. And we aren't, because it will happen, we aren't, backing each other into a corner.
Yeah.
We have to support each other, even though, we all still compete with one another, but like, we should be supporting one another.
100%.
And so what we should be saying should be the same across the board. So what are ways that we can get that material out to people in this brokerage? And one, take full responsibility of knowing the information and practicing it. Because we can talk till we're blue in the face, but until like repetition doesn't ruin the prayer, right? So.
Yeah, I'm preach on, sister. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if we create, if we created a video or objection handlers, and just required like a course completion.
Yeah, like a 1 month, once a month, you have to come to this objections class. Or once every quarter, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's not a huge commitment.
Right.
How are you, because you're on a bigger team, this is one reason I'm asking. How are you, and you guys do a lot, you deal with meeting people in the field, right? You're not, maybe not doing a buyer consultations because someone might like a house and that's where you're gonna go meet them. How are you guys doing your first touch with them when you go out for, you're meeting a buyer for the first time and you're gonna go in a house? Do you guys have a process set up?
We're trying to schedule more buyer
Consultation?
strategy meetings.
Right, so that's where I think like if we had a stock video, like it doesn't, where you could, in that instance where you're meeting them at 123 Main Street at 4:30 today, it's 2 o'clock, you don't have time to do. I'm gonna send you this email, here's a video about how we get paid. I want you to watch this before I get there, because what I have to do by law now is have you sign a buyer's consultation. So I want to make sure you saw this. I can explain it to you in more detail if you'd like, face to face, but this is the easiest process for us both right now because of the urgency of time. And then therefore, when they get there, they know what they're getting into, or that they already have the questions loaded to answer, so that you're not talking about that. You can talk about selling the house. Because the last thing you want to do is you want to get there and go over, a buyer's agreement for 15 minutes, and then they're like thinking in the back of their head as they walk through the house, like, what did I just sign? What am I doing? You know what I mean? So you're not throwing it at them right at the last minute. I think it's like a proactive approach to, hey, I just want to make you aware. Here's what we have to do by law now. So please watch the video. We'll talk about any aspects that you don't like or any aspects of it that you have questions about. And then I'm going to have you sign this before we can enter the home.
And just saying upfront before you see the house, like, hey, just, this is 2%. The seller's asking you to cover the other 1%. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Like just telling them
Yep.
upfront.
Yep. So I think it would be really good for a lot of people to be able to do something like that.
And I
And-
think, well, like what Sam was saying, what you're saying is if we do have that video, then it's the same message to everybody.
And it's not the people in here that I'm worried about
I know.
for Dominick's sake.
Well,
It's for the other people.
When we talked about this the other day, and I'm glad that you brought this back up. Aaron and I talked about it the other day. And it was after Katie Leader on that Zoom said, would it be okay if I made a video explaining this and making sure that all of our clients see that? My thought right away was, if we can create the script and let every agent do it in their own
Tell them their own voice.
their own voice, their own introduction, right? That way, you get somebody on the phone and you're not sending them a video of Bill Maniaci,
Yeah.
right? Right, and then they're meeting you at the house.
Well, I think the day of the Pop-Tart Realtor, I'll get right over it to do that. You gotta slow that down. But having, let's say Aaron does if nothing's available, if you haven't recorded one or aren't comfortable doing that, and
Yeah.
and the technology, and one of the things I responded to a survey on about coming in is like, this stuff is really good if you know how to use it. I can go hire that stuff and I don't have to worry about it. And I don't wanna have to make it and do it and tweak it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get,
Well,
we
my-
can get
my-
Bill Tate in here
Actually, my thought was setting up basically a recording studio
and then just
that had,
sign up for a time slot, come
that
in
had a
here, read the
teleprompter
script.
that you could read the script off of while you're,
Yeah, but
that would be
I
in a
think
perfect world.
the point for me anyway, this is, if you as the owner and you have your broker do the master video, and it's an option, if you want to do your own, great.
Yeah.
But if you want to use this one, that's
Yeah.
okay too.
I agree.
And you, I think we'll be able to handle more buyers that way. And the biggest thing is trust.
Well, and we also have, if we send this out, right, now I have an email that says, I sent this to you for you to review before I signed, right? So that,
So it is, but there's one step short on that one. You need a receipt that it was open. And the BombBomb does this.
You can do that through command.
Okay,
If you email through command, it'll tell you if it was open.
Or
simply
require
require
them
them
to
to
reply with
respond.
approved.
Yeah,
Or-
say, you know,
I gotta pee.
receive,
received, yeah.
so you have,
it's required for you to respond that you received this.
so there's, you know, speaking to the process of handling a new client and having the checklist, and you know they opened it, you know that they, obviously, you can't know that if they watch the full thing.
Sure, sure.
I don't think, but that technology is coming, so that, yeah, they were on for 30 seconds, they opened it.
Well, even if they don't, if they acknowledge that they received it, then
Correct.
that's them entering into contract with you.
What I,
So that
yeah,
is that's theirs to own, you
I
know.
want to, if I'm sitting in court, I want to say, here's the email I sent, here's the response, they said it was received, here's when we met, here's what they signed. It's on them, you know,
Right, yeah.
like, that's all I want to do is just go deflect.
Yeah, at that point, to your saying, yeah, they're responsible for that. Okay.
So, I'm a dinosaur in this. But about 28 years ago, I attended a class at our MAR convention, or I think that's what it was. And they were talking about, you know, really bulletproofing your legal stance and keep a, you know, a diary on the folder. You know, we had listed folders and to write down, you know, the date, what you said, and that type of thing. And that was defense. I never had the problem of going into court, but I know some people that did, having their notes. And the judge is looking at it and says, okay, you know, you did the right thing. Business was simpler then, but today, I think having a backup record in command or whatever you're doing is a good deal.
Yeah.
Even text message. You gotta-
Trying to be creative.
I like this.
Right, it's written.
But I think from an office standpoint, like you were saying, rules and regs to, you know, not, you know, all of us, not just those of us in this room. That's when, you know, like my team has it, I have you know, PDF with contract language, you know, appraisal gap, and this and that and everything else. This part is no different, having that on there when it's talking about, you know, that commission. Buyer agrees, and it's the same language for every agent in the office. Buyer agrees to only see homes that are X. That's an easy thing for the office to put on our KWL website. Here's the contract language you guys need to be using for your buyers.
Mhm.
And from like, as a new person, that would be super helpful for me.
Yeah.
Like when you're running through scripts and all that other stuff, like where should I be getting this from? And who, like, what's best practice? And I mean, I think that's a recruitment tool too, right?
Mhm.
Like, how can we get more people into the brokerage? Well, like, you will not beat the training that you get here.
Yeah.
And this is why. And so there's just many different, I'm in operations, so like, this is how my mind works. But like, these are just like the things where I'm like, oh, here's a gap, and this is how it could be so much, it could be improved. So if you have that, or like, because I know Bun Warren, they do a bunch of role playing all the time.
Mhm.
Well, is it written down? Like, are these objection handlers written down somewhere so new people can read through them and can learn from them? Because that would be great. I know there's the website for like the library or whatever, but I haven't dug too deep into it to see if there's much on it.
The one thing that
KWL
my old
agent.
brokerage, they did that I thought was awesome is when they did contracts, every single blank had a number in it. And then at the back, They used a stock 123 Main Street, which had a listing, right? So it had all of the details in it. They had a number in every blank, and then at the back, it had a key. Here's what you put in there: first name, last name, parcel ID, tag, you know what I mean? And it just went through, and it was so dumbed down that you could do it by yourself without asking for any help at all, because you had, you know, you had the listing agreement or a purchase agreement, you had all the numbers and all of the blanks, then you had a key to what was supposed to go in there, and then you also had the reference of the property information that you could look at, so you knew where you had to look for the property information, you knew what you had to fill in each blank, and you knew where the blanks were.
So what platform was that? Do you remember what they used?
No,
We
it-
used DocuSign.
It was just created.
It was just handmade. It
Well,
was-
see, yeah, soccer did that for me, and it's like, as new agents, I mean, like, you're with, oh my gosh, what, Megan, trying, like, but it's like, if you didn't have her, like, as a mentor, and I didn't have Sakura, it's like, new people coming in don't have an idea, but Sakura has a purchase agreement that's filled out that says, like, you need to fill this part out, this part out, this part out. And so, I mean, like, my first month, I was able to do it all by myself, like you said, because I had an example, and then she would just help me look it over to make sure it was good. But, I mean, like,
I think with some of this too is also the software that you use. Like, I personally, you know, my team doesn't use DocuSign. It's cumbersome as all get out and backwards. We use Dotloop. I can throw an offer together in less than 10 minutes. And when I'm in front of a client, I can literally click a button, spin my laptop, and go sign. I'm not waiting for an email to hit.
Oh, really?
Dotloop will flip it over to the consumer side. Sign. I can do it on my phone, I can do it on the.
Yeah,
laptop.
It's paid.
like $32 a month, I think.
But I
is
don't
that
have to
right?
with envelopes and putting on something.
And splitting it
Ow.
and everything else.
It's all just click, 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 bye.
Yeah, I find it
I
more
love
user
Dotloop.
friendly.
do
It's
you
a
pay for
wonderful
it?
activity.
Oh, you use that one?
I do think the weekly contract classes are good. I mean, I'm in my third year and I'll still pop into one, because you always hear something different or updated or new, and, so that does help, or at least starts, but it's not as, I guess, as programmed as it would be to use same language or to have like a key to go off of, you know.
I think most about the best part about doing the contracts class is then when you're sitting at the table with someone, you can have the conversation around it more so than how you're filling it out. It's more like, what is
Like
this?
explaining and bringing it
Yeah,
right
like,
on
I think, and that's where I think the contracts class really is.
So, I mean, I think having, you know, a template on our website that says traditional, you know, here's everything on the blanks on the traditional purchase agreement and the listing agreement. But then here's the separate page, contract language that you can use for the commission side of it, and things like that. So to, I mean, ultimately avoid us in the steering conversation, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, just kind of make it,
I mean,
I
it's,
hate to call it mandatory, but to protect the office, like, you have received a copy of this, you know where to find it. For you to use it, because.
I mean,
we're
I
not gonna back you up.
immediately want a checkbox and a line on a buyer's agency agreement that says buyer, whatever the language is going to be, but buyer agrees to only see homes that are offering X amount of buyer agency compensation check. Because
we've
it
already
can't be
talked about
open-ended.
The other side too, right? So if you end up, that buyer sees a home that is only offering 2% or 2.5%, and you go, that gives you as a agent go, hey, we signed this document at 3, so we can do this, but you're gonna sign a new doc. And I'll go show it, but here's the deal, like, you have.
Well, I like even
That's what he
Carissa's
said before.
language on that is saying, you know, the seller's asking that buyers pay 1% to the commission.
I think,
On the flip side of that, like, let's say the buyer signs that they'll only see homes with you where commission is being offered. I'm just wondering if it could ever happen, if the buyer finds out, they see a home themselves that isn't offering commission, could they like not tell you, not take you with them? and do their own thing on the side then?
Ooh.
Even though you have that
I
exclusive
didn't-
buyer agency, which means you get paid no matter who finds the
The
house.
question would be, how is that?
Like, can they cut you out? If they decide, oh, actually, I love this house,
Yes.
oh my gosh, it's now for commission.
The answer
I don't wanna
actually
lose
is
the house
yes.
Because of my realtor, like, I'm just gonna see if I can call the listing agent to see it. And I'm gonna go through with this without a realtor. Like, if you're under contract with them, would they be allowed to do that?
If the contract says that you're not gonna show them houses under X amount, then
Right.
yes, because
Because then it's outside of the contract.
Right.
that's awful.
And we can't
And-
put a range on there either.
Nope.
That's I think that's the killer with it.
And procuring cause is no longer a thing.
If we could
Because
put
I would
a
lose the house
range.
because of my realtor, when it really came down to it. It may start that way, like, yes, I'll only see homes where you get paid commission, but if I find the home,
But if you're looking at like
I'm getting the home.
right, if you're looking
You
at
know?
$500,000 and they're not offering it, you're not gonna pay 15, like, you're gonna go straight to the listing agent. Like, you're not gonna pass on a house in this market with low inventory. Like, that's where it's just.
This
like,
is-
it's so
Hopefully they
stupid.
hopefully,
But it's also where you
They offer
explain
to
your
be
value
at that
up
point,
front,
but-
right? Like, this goes back to that value conversation on my percentage aside. You want to work with me as your buyer agent for these reasons. And those reasons need to be strong enough to avoid them doing just what we're talking about. Them going to the listing agent because they agreed to 3 with us, to go to listing agent, because that listing agent is gonna go, cool, yeah, but it's commission, if you're a customer and I'm not gonna protect squat. Like, you're on your own for the paperwork, you're on your own for attorney fees, you're on your own for all this stuff. And you're flying blind at this point. Heaven forbid something comes up, sorry, you're 6 ways Sunday screwed.
Do we know what the average attorney fees are?
And they went up. They've
Um,
gone up since everything's happened.
oh, for sure they have for real estate attorneys. I'm like,
Like, that would be a great reply to an objection.
yeah,
I think
I
it's
mean,
like-
Definitely. do
Abby
this.
Cooper's like $200 or $300 an hour. I don't remember.
And it's about 10 hours per transaction is what you end up with in paperwork.
Right, so this is what you can do, this is how much it generally costs.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do this on your own, which you're welcome to do so, this is what I can do for you, kind of thing. And it might sound cheaper at first, but then you piggyback with what you bring to your value and what you bring.
So how valuable is your time, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer?
Right, like, do you want to do your own lawn care, or do you want to pay someone so you can save that 3 hours a week and
Well, like on
go
the
live?
Highland House, we had to have, as a result of a water test, we had to have a well chlorinated. That involved going back out to the house, having it chlorinated, going back the next day, sitting there with the inspector for 2 hours while they bled the line. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, do you have time in the middle of the day to go spend 2 hours to bleed this house dry? Sitting there, no, that's what you pay me for.
Right,
Yeah, I just don't like how I just don't like how there's just so open-ended in too many cases to where it's just like the vagueness of it is going to drive me insane.
I know they're making it.
but see, like,
Yeah.
this is a great example. And in my previous life where we could be, like, the brainstorm would be, what are all of the ways that this could go sideways? Right? And you map them all out and you ask that question and then somebody takes a stab at writing up a response. People beat the shit out of it, then you refine it, and that is that, and then you share it out.
Yeah.
But it works and everybody has it in their back pocket. We're all speaking the same language. And in a way, because we're all sharing that same verbiage, we're supporting each other. So that way, if I'm interviewing, I go to a listing appointment and they're interviewing me and then they call you, you're gonna say the
Same
same
thing.
thing. And they're like, okay, there's a level of trust there. I know I'm not getting screwed around. And now I'm gonna go with the one who's funnier and more entertaining, which would be me.
Then she totally wins that.
Dominic, I know I mentioned this to you earlier on, but I know we've put a lot of emphasis on like buying agents and how to handle this, but it'd be nice to see the associations across the board continue to tell listing agents, look, you're at the forefront of this, you're on the front line. How about we just not let this happen or happen as much?
Yeah,
How about we continue to have the listing agents continue what has been, but explain it better, be more transparent about it,
I
and keep
wish.
it.
There's
Ways
there's
that-
too many onesie twosie
You know?
agents that take one listing
Yeah.
a year
flat rates.
And they're gonna, yeah,
They're
flat rate, they're
for-
gonna walk in, oh, I only charge 1.5% to list your home, we don't need to offer the buyer agent jack, and that seller's, depending on their situation, is gonna jump over backwards and take it, and that house may sit until the cows come flipping home.
Well, because
Because
they,
even now, like, we don't even have it fully in place yet, and every day I'm on expireds, and it's the
Oh, I see.
2.5% buyer agent commission ones that are expiring clear out, because either they're not being shown because the percentage is not there, which isn't fair.
It's just steering.
But the other side of it is the pricing is jacked. So I'm gonna jack what I'm gonna list it at, because I think we can get it here, and I'm gonna offer peanuts on the back end. Well, sorry, folks, that one's gonna expire.
well, that's, I mean, it's just bad negotiator on all angles, right? So they just wanted a listing signed, they didn't actually want to sell the house.
Oh man, I'm having a morning. Another realtor just came back and gave me my credit card that I left at my showing this morning.
You dropped your credit card at a showing?
Yeah. I'm thinking the super lock box open.
Did you recruit that agent to come here? Cause
It was
they,
Brian LaBeouf.
oh, used to be here.
Yeah, he did. And then he drove it over here and dropped it off for me.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, we have a lot of work to
It would just
do.
be nice to lessen the problems that don't have to be a problem.
I know.
unless we get in that position of.
And I think we're probably
Having to stay our own
overthinking
commission.
it, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Yeah.
we're definitely trying to push this to the extremes and have these conversations. Because I think most people are going to do what they've always done, and they're going to explain that it's a superior selling strategy to offer, you know, cooperating commission.
It is. Right?
Right.
And I hope that the
100%.
majority of people do that.
Yeah, so it's in your best interest to do this, right? But there's gonna be the 20% that have always been cringy, you know, in this business that are going to probably race to the bottom even faster. And those are the people we're gonna have to deal with and need to be.
But those ones will also be the ones that will fizzle out eventually with this.
I'm sorry if this was addressed already when I was gone, but is anybody doing anything different in our listing agreements are getting signed right now? Are we just using the same listing things until things change?
Same.
Yeah, I don't think. we
I
know
just
yet.
checked Mars website yesterday to see if they have updated any forms that we have not been aware of yet. And that's not happening.
I got an email from somebody,
Realtors that just sent out.
right, it was today, yeah,
What, it's today?
yeah, it was like 10:05.
God.
It says practice changes, our new forms available now, exclusive listing agreements, buyer brokerage agreements,
Yeah, I just
Party
got that
agreement.
too.
We should get that.
That was-
Beautiful. One-
listing realtors.
1 hour ago
Go broke.
during this meeting.
Yeah. They heard us.
So like Sam had a listing agreement signed a while ago that will be at the end of the month.
But how do we have to adjust current listing agreements that are in place?
They are saying
Do we just write an addendum?
that we're gonna have
it?
to amend them
Okay. So we're writing an
to
amendment
have
to
the
it.
verbiage. This was in, hold on.
No.
Sam's like, I'll take it.
Oh, I gotta go.
See you later.
All right,
Phil.
sir.
Bye.
That's my version, Scott.
So yours is taking more from an angle just in general?
Open-ended, yeah.
Yes, where mine is trying to go.
Yeah, and I like yours too, I
That
just
I have
think,
a vibe. No, these are the two angles of what I was thinking. So your check's in the middle,
that's the one thing I didn't like about it necessarily, and that's why I like about yours. but I also
and that's
like
just,
yours.
I did that in like 15 minutes this morning. I do not do any of that stuff. Marta is amazing at it. I am
My
terrible.
wife created the middle part of
Okay.
that. and I just-
Um,
Girls rule, boys drool.
So yeah, that's the only thing. It's like when you do get something that has a check attached to it, it's always at the bottom with, you know, the perforated line. So
So are
that,
you, in an envelope though, are you putting it with the clear window on it? so that this shows up like they do when they send it.
I didn't even think of that, but I love it.
I like the idea too, so I was going back and forth, I'm sending it in, because I usually send all my mailers out in colored envelopes anyways, because I want it to stand out. in the
Well, the
mailbox.
nice part is if you do that, then you can make this box that's going to be in the window.
Yeah.
You can make that auto-populate,
And that's what I'm wondering too.
right? So if you take a list, you export your CSV, you put it in there, it's automatically gonna put their information on it. Now I can change that, I can change the top,
Mhm.
and now I have everything set. So it really, really is going to get, I mean, that
Did you
open
take a
rate
picture?
probably goes. We'll share them and then we can,
Yeah,
you know, once we get them going. Because I think that would be awesome if you could put it in there where it's gonna put the name right in it, you know, so it looks like it's,
yeah.
I mean, shoot, at that point in time, I'll sign it if I don't have to write the address on there, right? I'll start hand signing stuff.
I mean, I always hand draft my envelopes anyways, but if I'm gonna start using envelopes that have the clear window, I just.
Correct.
9656.
You have to add something on there that's like, this is not a check.
There's nothing on it to constitute a check. It doesn't meet the 9 steps of negotiability.
No routing number.
No routing number, no account number, no bank name. It doesn't meet the requirements.
This is just a.
Sorry, that's 11 years in banking. My apologies.
Yeah,
We're
so
kind
it
of
came up with
working
the
out
idea
on
like
that.
we go to, you know, put a check on the bottom of it, because I feel like when you see a check on even on any mail, you always look to it, right? So it's just one of those things that always gets my attention, so I wanted to add that in addition to the golden letter.
That's good, it.
To try to like get people, because even if people put $1 million in their house, it's worth 500, cool, you just found it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's really what I want. I don't know if I want to put some sort of QR code on there,
I
like,
kept going back. And
like,
forth. That's why I
like,
put one.
you know, send me what you think your home is worth, and then try to, because I don't have a mofer on there necessarily. I do, but not
Mhm.
like something that's like really grand.
Well, that's why I put, let's make this check a reality. That was my, like, you did this, so now call me, let's make this a reality.
Yeah, I like that.
And I kind of did that as my vote for like
Right.
15-minute, no obligation, you know, I'm just gonna come out, talk, and then let's wrap it up. Cause I'm hoping that they did fill out the checks, when I get there, they go, here's what we think, okay, cool.
Yeah.
No.
Fill this out for our consultation.
Does anyone in the room have someone who did web design that they would refer?
Doesn't your sister have some people?
Yeah.
Like to do a website?
Yeah. I mean, I have people that I could reach out to, but I'm trying to do it. The people that I would reach out to are gonna be expensive.
The guy that I know is super expensive. The guy that Aaron uses is super expensive.
I think my husband went and saw somebody either on like Grand River, Main Street,
Mhm.
and then there was another one in Howell.
Yeah, we're not looking for that.
Yeah, if you guys like, here, right,
Just
like,
like
anybody
general.
can like throw up a Squarespace site.
So Katie Leader, put on the Facebook page, flowdesk.com.
Okay.
That's a website recommendation. Is
It's
that-
for, they do, Flowdesk does emails, Flowdesk is like MailChimp. And they also have like forms that you can do, like, and you can connect your Squarespace to your Flowdesk, and really, if you spend the time, Squarespace isn't that hard to set
You
up,
could
it
do
just
it,
takes
but-
time.
You know,
So it doesn't, you don't need like a full-blown web developer, you just
Mm.
need somebody who's good at making things look pretty and then putting all the words and the links together. Cause it's basically just like drag and.
drag and drop.
Most websites
But
are-
with some functionality
Yeah.
that we don't wanna do.
Yeah.
This is where we need someone who can just tell us what their value is, and we'll pay them to do their job, because we don't wanna do
But
it.
yeah, Katie Leader did all hers on her own.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's just like a crazy high D, so she couldn't really help if anyone else,
Yeah.
and if anyone else touched it, she'd be like, that's not right.
Well, I mean, I feel like now that these contracts are out.
I'm glad our broker can review them today and get back with us.
Where is she?
She's
Yeah,
gone for
our
10 days.
vacation.
Oh, that's right.
She always goes at the most inopportune times. This summer one
And
for some
over
reason.
UP, yeah.
Um, I feel like we gotta get on top of going over these like ASAP.
So you get, the thing that sucks is mega campus right down, right? So we almost need, I think you need to have something where people have to physically come in here or
Yeah, and like
Go in
almost
the
like
house
what Sam was
and-
saying is like they have to, like you either have to sign up for an online one with the class,
I don't
like
even
if
think
you
you can-
can't do virtual.
I don't even think you can sign people up online unless you're out of state and it's impossible for you to be here.
Yeah.
You need to physically come in, and then we make one night available for people that need to come in the evening. But here's your 5 options from now until the
Yeah,
August
that's
17th.
what I was thinking.
Other than that, like,
Even to
Hold your
go over
first
the
commission
forms.
check and
and
well,
let's-
you
know
just,
what
we
it
show
is.
that you attend
you shouldn't
this.
be,
Yeah.
like,
You should be.
you shouldn't be showing houses
I'm gonna tell Erin to cancel her trip
When does she leave?
today.
right now. Yeah.
She's already in
Well,
the
she
car.
can look at it